How's it going? Long time no see. Sorry, it's a little dark, but up early on the treadmill. I try to keep up with my breath. You should be up every AM. Get it in. The world is full of a lot of stress, and the only way to really deal with stress is to eat healthy or healthier, and to get some exercise. You may notice that the adversary, your opponent, the bar member, etc., legal practitioners are usually somewhere in a gym early in the morning, early in the AM, I should say, getting exercise, promoting circulation, eating a good breakfast, and they're up, had their first cup of coffee and everything before anyone, right? Early bird gets the worm. So we got to get physically fit, is my point. Emotionally fit, spiritually fit, right? You got to have something that you believe in. I'm not saying that it is per se the conventional tenets of Christianity or whatever, but you got to have something you believe in. Even if it's generically truth, just believe in something, have something to believe in. All right, spiritual, you got to have all three, right? All right, so with that being said, moving on. I just want to jump on here real quick. I had a thought for the AM, and that is I've recently been having more activity in the court, and just constantly noticing that it is perceived that there is a consistent, how shall I put it, loophole or something to that effect that seems to go under the radar. By that I mean, it seems like either the judges or the commissioners or what have you have a pretty blatant disregard for most of the arguments you make. And I had to remind myself of the reason. First of all, if you don't know, the legal industry has, or what they call the American law system, has a pretty much perpetual monopoly, okay? Now, yes, monopolies are supposed to be illegal in America or United States, I'll say. Okay, they're supposed to be illegal, but we know that they're not. There's only one association, all right, that's running everything. Now you have, I forget what it's called. I know it's the American Bar Association, and I forgot what the other one is. But there are two associations. One predominantly run by African American, what they call African Americans, and the other one is, I believe, the American Bar Association. Do not quote me at that. Look it up for yourself. But it's interesting history if you care to check into how it was formed, how they were formed, the Bar Association. But anyways, one day I'll do a study on that. It is very important. Okay? But again, they have the monopoly, whichever way you look at it. And so when we're going into their realm, when we're participating in the tenets of the American law system and legalities, we have to realize that it's not set up for anyone that is not part of the team, part of the association, to win. Okay? They want you to take on one of their representatives because you simply do not know. You simply are irrelevant in their sphere, and it is essentially looked at as disrespectful, undesirable. They look at you with disdain for even attempting to participate in their realm, as it were. Okay? So I think you've had that experience yourself. Probably you know what I'm talking about. Now, let's talk about remedy. Let's talk about where we stand, or where we're supposed to stand. Now, if you've been around here for any amount of time, you know that I've had lots of court experience. The majority of it being unfavorable. Okay. By that I mean I went in there thinking I had everything, all the ducks in a row, as it were, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, and found out they're always coming with some kind of catch 22, and then they'll hit you with a catch 44, and then a catch 66, because when it comes down to it, you're not going up against a single individual. All right, when you step into their realm, they have offices in every state, right, that are part of the association. They have judges in every state that are part of the same association. And then, last but certainly not least, they have the big daddy of them all, the Attorney General, who is also part of the Bar Association. All right, and is also in the capacity of the parens patriae, meaning the parent of the state, the father of the state. Okay, so as I stated before, we are very outnumbered. All right, I am back. Let's see if I can pick up where I was. Just had an announcement come to me. But anyways, we're outnumbered. Okay, we're severely and strategically outnumbered. All right, and it's by design. So let's talk remedy. All right. First of all, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the people or the state? Which came first, the people or the government? When you know the answer to that question, then you know where the real power lies. Okay? Organizations are instituted and created by man. Therefore, the institution is subject to the man, all right, and cannot become God to the man, all right? Unless the man sleeps on his rights, his liberties. With that being said, the Bar Association is just that, an association created by man. Okay? And so we come first. No private corporation, whether international or whatever, comes before the man. Man designed it, man put it together, and so it has to take a back seat. And so with that said, that's the pecking order. That's the way it should always be. If it ever reverses, then you'll start to notice things that you're experiencing in our societies, in our paradigm today. Okay, so men become titles, domestic relation titles, and what have you. And you get what I'm saying? Like men become presidents, CEOs, vice presidents, secretaries, etc., right? And that title becomes so big, the powers, the delegation of authority expands, and eventually man begins to love that power that they get when they wear that badge. And then what happens? They don't want to take the badge off. They don't want to take the cloak, the color, they call it color of law. They don't want to take that off anymore. And so, because they love the power, right? The love of money, they say is the root of all evil. Right, because the more power you have, the more money you probably make. And so, if you're enjoying that money, once again, you probably don't want to take off that domestic relation title. You don't want to take off that badge. You don't want to take off that uniform, that cloak of that color of law. And that's the way it works. And so this, I contend, is what has happened through the monopolization or I should just say the monopoly, involving the Bar Association. And so now they feel impenetrable, right? Because essentially they've cornered all markets. Every bank has an attorney, a bar member, right? Every hospital has a bar member, an attorney. Every business, every industry relies upon a bar member in order to guide the ship, right? This is the plight of the American law system, the American system as a whole. Now, again, remedy. That being the case, okay, we pretty much have to put this system back in its place. All right? Now, it cannot function, all right? It can only have authority over its creatures. Okay? Its creatures, all right, have to be after the order of its father. All right? By that I mean that, I'm at almost 20 minutes here. By that I mean that you know the fruit, or excuse me, you know the tree by the fruit it bears. Okay? That's why Yeshua is quoted in the Bible as saying that basically you're of your father, right? Okay. Speaking of the beast system, the serpent, right, which is the most subtle, cunning, used technology, word art to deceive, mixing a little bit of lie with a whole lot of truth, which is deception. This is what the serpent, the beast system, is the progenitor of. And it produces children after its own kind. So it doesn't. So you have the choice. Choose ye this day whom you will serve. And so each of us have to make that choice. And so since there's a choice, that means there is a dichotomy, a dual reality, as it were. Legal versus law. Legal versus law. So are you a child of the law, or are you a child of the system, the legal system, legalities? The terminology or term person, derived or reminiscent of persona, a derivative, I should say. Persona. Persona is a mask. A mask is something that you wear to disguise that which is underneath it, to obscure what is underneath, okay, from the individual's perception. Okay? So all you can do legally, if you can't see the natural face underneath the mask, the persona, the person, as it were, then you must assume. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Legalities involve presumptions, legal presumptions of law, assumptions of law. They're even allowed to employ things known as fictions of law. If you look at the Black's Law Dictionary, under the 5th edition Black's Law Dictionary, and look at the definition of legal, it spells it out for you that legal is permitted by law, that legal is used by the courts. It uses the term posited by courts as the inference of the law. It's a legal presumption. It's something that they can use in place of actual fact to come to a conclusion. Legal fictions. All right? And so to sum it all up, Either you are a son of the law or a son of the legal system. You choose you this day whom you will serve. So the reason, once again, that we are not finding remedy in their system is because, number one, they designed it. Therefore, they are the architects of it. Therefore, they know the stage play better than anyone else. How are you going to come into the director's sphere of influence under his or her delegation of authority in operation, directing the play, and tell them how each of the characters in the play on the stage are to act? You can't. Such is it in the courtrooms. You can't tell the progenitors, the actors who have made this their profession, the way that the game is supposed to be played. They'll run rings around you, circles around you, and they'll enjoy doing it at the same time. So, if you're a son or daughter of the law, you have to figure out your proper capacity. Stilches versus Ridco exterminating, 1989-1990 case, paints what I'm conveying to you beautifully, in that the Georgia court held that the individual and representative capacities are legally different persons, different entities. That means that in this case, Stilches, a woman, sued the exterminating company because they used pesticides that ultimately contributed to the death of her husband. She lost that case. I think that started in '86. Stilches versus Ridco Exterminating Company. And then she came back and sued again, but this time, instead of coming as the wife in her individual capacity, she came back as the administratrix. The administratrix is the female version of the administrator of a decedent's estate, property, land, tenants. And the defendant, I believe, the exterminating company, said, wait a minute, hold on. We've already adjudicated this matter. This is res judicata, collateral estoppel, etc., etc. You got to read the case. It's excellent. Well, the court, as you might conclude, held that no. When she came in her individual capacity and now in her representative capacity, these are legally separate. You cannot commingle these two. You must keep them separate. The one must not become privy to the other. It must not claim any of the rights of the other, being the individual and the representative capacity. And so she was able to bring that action because, again, she's able to switch between capacities, and you are too. You just have to figure out what that means, how to do it. And I'll probably do a part 2 on this because we're at 19 minutes. The point of the matter is that's where the power lies for us. Because there are limitations to the legal sphere, the legal industry, in that they have to recognize the different capacities. I'll close with this. There's a, how shall I put it? There are several types of immunity protected under the 11th Amendment, wherein an officer of the state enjoys protections as long as they are acting in accordance with their office and under their delegation of authority. They cannot arbitrarily and or capriciously make decisions. They must stick be in accordance with the Constitution, the state statutes, et cetera, right? If they veer outside of that delegation of authority, then they lose the 11th Amendment protections. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that as long as they are acting in accordance with their office, as long as they are not bringing their individual pursuits into their office, their official public office, as long as they are not mixing their private rights and liberties in the office, the official public office, then they enjoy 11th Amendment protections. Because why? Because they are acting, as Stilches versus Ridco conveys, they are acting in their representative capacity. In the public, they are representing or representing the state, the government. And so as long as they do and act in accordance with their public delegation of authority in the office in which they represent, as long as they continually submit, I'll say, then they enjoy those 11th Amendment immunities. But if they step out and bring in their private rights, then they lose the 11th Amendment immunity. And so, in closing, this works for us as well. It's called equal protections of the law. If they have a right to turn the switches of the various capacities, legal capacities, on and off, if a police officer can take off his badge, take off his gun, take off his uniform, hang it up in the closet, and become a mere mortal individual, and 8 hours, 16 hours, whatever later, go back, put the badge back on, and now dons the authority of the state or of their private organization, their police, law enforcement agency. You see, you could take it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on. When they're off duty, they are in the private. When they're on duty, they are in the public. If they have that right, then so do you. And this is Remedy 2022. This is the way to fight this battle, as it were, against your adversary, very proficient in the legalities and hoping that you don't know what I just disclosed. All right? So for this and more information, look down in the description of this and other videos. I hope that you've learned something. If you have, please like, share, and subscribe. Learn your capacity, learn your role, learn your place. It's legalities under law. Law supersedes it all. All right, I'll talk to you next time. Courtney, signing out.